We're already starting to see so many people here. Good to see everyone. We have Jason, our co hosts. And of course, the topic today is 10 best ways to get a job in tech. We've covered similar topics in the past, obviously, many times in different spaces. But this one is specifically about these different tactics of how you can go about getting a job in tech and how to approach it. And note there that I didn't say how to apply for a job in tech because that's not the only way. That definitely can be and is often part of the process, but it's not the only way at all. So we're going to go into that. We're going to go into why applying for jobs online for tech jobs is pretty much one of the worst ways to go about it. It's a controversial opinion, but I believe it's a correct opinion, at least at this time of the market. Obviously, as the market changes, that could change, but we're going to go into that. And before we get into the main topic, we might cover some of the prerequisites that you want to be mindful of, that you want to develop, that I think are often overlooked, but still important, maybe even more important than the main topic. But we'll use that probably as a warm up, and then we'll get into our main topic after that. With that, let's welcome Jason, our co host, my secret non wife. Welcome on the stage, Jason.
I don't think it's a secret, but good morning from the East Coast. How is everybody today? YK, obviously this is a great topic. You have a ton of knowledge on it. I see you put your wonderful 10, what is it? Your top 3 prerequisites for getting a tech job up in the Jumbotron. I'm personally also looking, so I'm here to support YK and his wealth of knowledge and ask questions as well. I think everybody could always use some tips to get where they want to be. So great space. Let's do this, YK. Welcome, everybody. This will be a good one. Make sure you're taking notes.
Of course. And we have another account of mine here. Someone was giving me a hard time, YK, you never join anyone's space from your main account. See, I'm proving them wrong here.
Are you, though? I feel like this is like odd nepotism, but that's neither here nor there again.
No, I love it. I don't know if nepotism is the word here. It's more like, um, yeah, I don't know the word.
Yeah, probably wasn't, but it is what it is. So where do you want to start here, YK? I mean, this again, great topic. I feel like there's a lot of stuff to cover.
All right, so we have 2 hours total. We've spent basically 5 minutes talking about nonsense, but hopefully somewhat entertaining. I think we can spend the next 10 minutes talking about these prerequisites that I posted at the top. And I'm just going to go through it. And again, I want to emphasize these are super important, arguably, and I would say probably more important than the main topic, ironically. But of course, we're going to go into the main topic because that's the promise of the space. But as we warm up this space and as people come in, I think it's a good topic to get started with. So here are the 3 prerequisites for getting a job in tech. The first one is energy. This will be the foundation of everything you'll do. To have a lot of energy, you must have healthy habits. That means eating well, sleeping well, exercising, and not too much stress, not having too much stress. And if you have stress, you need to develop ways to deal with it. I would say everyone knows these tips, but almost no one, like literally almost no one, follows all of them consistently. Some people follow one of them or two of them, but if you look at these four things that I just mentioned, eating well, sleeping well, exercising, and not having too much stress. So I understand if you're in a situation where it's hard to follow some of them. If you have a family, if you have a young kid, sleeping well might be a challenge for you. So, in that sort of situation, totally understand that. But my point here is you should do your best to follow all of these habits.
Super important. The rest thing, I think the key, just to sort of paraphrase the whole list, is like that self-care component, that you at your best is going to optimize anything you're doing. So rest and good habits just puts you in a better position to get jobs or just get work done or be successful. Great points, YK. Great points.
Thank you for that. And I want to call out Francesco's comment here. He's not here, but he's there in the comment section. He said, I love the point number one. This is why I always say that you should I guess, put yourself in the best condition, then doing everything else is easier. 100% true. That's just my comment. Before switching my career, I had a very focused training summer. That's interesting. I guess this is some kind of sports, probably volleyball training, and everything else was easier. One thing I want to point out here that I didn't mention here is that people from either a sports or military background tend to have this, discipline and a way of getting things done. And the reason, I guess I don't have to get into the reason here, but both of those fields, areas, kind of help you develop, this sense of discipline. They obviously help you exercise, and they help you develop these healthy habits. And that actually leads to our next point. So, just for people who are getting in here, we're covering the prerequisites before getting into the main topic. The second one is consistency. I said here, alongside keeping your energy level high, being able to keep going on your journey is crucial. On some days, you might not feel like putting in the work, and the work here could mean anything that's relevant to getting a job in tech, since we're talking about that. So that could be coding to develop your skills. That could be building in public, which I'm going to mention later. That could be open source, which some people here might be excited about. So whatever the work it is, you need to be consistent about it. You need to do it pretty much every day. Someone said they do, when they say every day, they mean 6 days a week, every single day except for Sundays. And I agree with that framework. I think that's a good framework. If you don't want to work on Saturdays, that's totally understandable. But basically 5-6 days a week, consistent work, that will eventually pay off. And then just to sort of close up this little topic here, having more energy will actually make it easier to stay consistent. And also, you need to stay consistent to keep your healthy habits. So basically, this is a positive cycle. Once you have one, the other one becomes easier. And once you have both, keeping both of them becomes much easier.
Yeah, they all sort of work hand in hand. The consistency at healthy habits, the healthy habits lead to the consistency and the energy. Great points.
Okay, we see a couple of requests, but if you could wait a little bit, I would appreciate that. And then we're going to keep going. So the third prerequisite, even before you start on this main journey, is solid communication skills. Jason is, I would say, a really good person to learn from on that front. So I say here, perhaps counterintuitively, this is also going to be one of the most important foundational skills in your job search as well. You need to learn to listen well. I want to emphasize that. I want to put, an underline, I'm not bold it, italicize it, whatever I can to emphasize that point. Understand different people and talk to different types of people. You want to be able to do that. I say here, could you get a job in tech without solid communication skills? Probably, yes. Some people do that, I'm sure. However, mastering them would make it much easier, much, much easier to get and keep one. And my semi-controversial topic, I don't know if it's that controversial, here is that the best communicator with mediocre tech skills will get a job faster than the best engineer with mediocre communication skills. I hope I said it right. But a lot of people actually agree with me on that.
Hang on, sorry, I'm trying to put my headset in here. Uh, I think that that's 100% accurate. Here, hold on, I'm switching to headset. Hear me okay?
Yes.
Cool. The communication is so wildly important, but it's one of those skills that like you should have through life. Like communication is going to help you get a job. Like the skills, what's that one saying I heard? It's the hard skills get you the interview, but the soft skills get you the job. Or maybe I said that backwards, but the point is they're just as important, if not more important.
I agree with that. And I invited Eddie on the stage because I saw Eddie reacting to what I said about communication skills, I think. We are we're gonna go into open source later, but for now, any thoughts on this current topic, Eddie?
Hey everyone, thanks for bringing me up on stage. Always great to geek out with you all. Love the discussion. Absolutely love the discussion about communication. I think it's yes, so important, and I see it happening all the time that people, with the tech skills, not getting the role, and someone else who maybe wasn't as good as them but got the role because they could communicate better. At the end of the day, we're working with a team, so we're always going to be working with someone else, and I think that's why it's so important. It's something that we need to practice. So I absolutely love that. I managed to say that whole thing without mentioning open source, so I'm really proud of myself. I hope you're proud of me as well, YK.
So I love that. I wasn't, banning you from mentioning open source, but thank you for taking that as a challenge.
Shows you're growing with your communication skills, Eddie. So well done. See, we're always learning.
Well, I learnt mine from open source. I had to say it. You knew I was going to say it. But no, on a serious note, it is really interesting that a lot of people's kind of pull requests and issues get triaged or referenced or reviewed quicker. Maybe because they have communicated, not maybe, let's be honest, because they have communicated it better what they're trying to say. And because we're all short on time, right? So you think, oh, I'm between calls and so forth. Or between meetings or between work, I want to have a quick look. We're going to do the low hanging fruit, I think, for the expression Jason used yesterday.
Okay, I think we're gonna move on. It's been 15 minutes. We've covered the prerequisites, and I think we're ready to go into our main topic. I see 130 people listening. Thank you for being here, everyone. I see a bunch of requests. We're gonna get to them, hopefully. We have 1.5 hours, about 1.5 hours left here. So, we have plenty of time. And I see so many friends that we recognize. Jason, if you could call some of them out, I think that would be helpful while I pull up the tweets. Okay, I'm not.
Sorry, no, I'm here. Yes, there are a ton of friends here. We've got Netta and Augustine, see Vishal, Sarah, BJ's here, Steven is here, Johnny Cruz, my baby boy Jacob Ashley is here. Oh, I see Ricky and John, Evan, Zara. There's so many cool people here. Thanks for spending your Saturday, whatever time of day it is. We'll get to a lot of these speakers. Just be patient with us.
All right. Thank you for that. And that gave me enough time to find this tweet I wanted to find that lists actually these 10 best ways to get a job in tech. It's pinned at the top now, and here I said the best ways to get a job in tech in 2023 and 24. Obviously, as the market changes, the order of this list, or this list itself, could change. But this is currently my list, and obviously this is my opinion. It doesn't necessarily represent other speakers' opinions or anything like that. Eddie will probably disagree, on the placement of open source, but this is just my list.
I just wanted to point out that you did also give the disclaimer that this is your opinion. Um, all of the things that are said in here are subject to that disclaimer. So always do your research for your journey. Use these as a framework or something to question and inspire you to dig deeper in the topics.
Yes, definitely. But at the same time, I would say, this particular list and in this particular order, except for one as a joke, is based on the data that I've seen. Not necessarily numeric data, but from the people I talked to, from the market that I've observed, the recent market. This is the best list that I was able to come up with. Anyway, with that, let's just go into it. So the first one we have here is building in public and building your online presence. It is not only what I believe to be the best way to get a job in tech nowadays, it's also one of my favorite topics to talk about. We're going to have a Discord live stream about it later, but we can definitely talk about it here, at least give a quick introduction on what it is, how to go about it, and so on here. And to me, what I want to mention here first is that it's not just about tech. It's a little bit similar to what Jason sometimes says, but building in public doesn't have to be just tech. So for example, Jason has been building a community, shows, whatever you want to call it, Twitter spaces, a series of Twitter spaces broken into seasons. It's very serious, where he basically just talks to people, helps out his community, and he's building that community in public. It's not necessarily a tech product or coding per se, that could be a component of it. But the main thing is the community. And with that, what happens is people see what he's doing. People see what he's looking for whenever he says something, and Jason is able to make lots of good connections through it. Conference organizers, potential hiring managers, recruiters, and so on. If Jason, or someone else, if you just applied for a job online, then you wouldn't make these connections. You apply for let's say 1,000 jobs, and then you talk to a couple of them, potentially, if the market is good enough, and then you get a job or not. But with this kind of approach, as you go through this process, you start making connections. Even if you don't get a job right away, at the end of the day, you still have these connections. You still have your audience. You're still known for building that thing that you're building in public. Again, it could be a piece of tech. It could be a coding project, a website, anything like that. But whatever you're building, you get all of these benefits. I have more stuff to say, but we'll see if any of the panelists has more to add.
Well, I mean, I'd love to hear from YK, aka CS Dojo, if he's here, because I'm sure he has some insight on that. And I'd also love to hear from Eddie. But I think that the term building in public and learning in public can apply to anything. You know, I'm learning how to get a job in tech in public as I'm learning in public. I'm building like the community or my story in public again, so people also, my big thing is giving value by my experience. So if I can do things that some people maybe can avoid or helps kind of optimize people's journeys, that's what I'm trying to do.
Okay, so Eddie, the rule here is you can just jump in. If your hand is the only one you see, you can jump in. If you don't feel like raising a hand, you can just start talking too.
Okay, cool. No worries. Yeah, learning in public and building in public. Just like Jason said, um, by learning in public, we can help someone where we were like a month ago. And I think a lot of people say, "Oh, my content or whatever I want to put out is not really perfect. I can't help anyone. I'm new to this. I'm new to this." But there is always someone where we were a month ago, and also even if someone is, I don't know, lack of a better word, like a month ahead of us in their journey, they could look at it and go, oh, I wasn't aware of it that way. It happens to me all the time. I see people do something and I think, oh, that's a different way to do it. That's interesting. I'll do it that way next time. Or I won't do it that way next time, but I'm now aware of a way I wouldn't do it. And that's absolutely fine. Like a lot of coding and stuff is an art. And I just think I wish more people would share things in public more authentically rather than really curated and really and over polished, let's say. And I find that content does better anyway.
Of that, and I like what you mentioned about learning in public. It's not just building in public that you can do. Learning in public is also a good thing to do. So, the way I see learning in public, it's sort of like a preamble to building in public. It's not necessarily going to get a job right away just by learning in public, let's say 100 days of code, but it's still a nice way to, let people know that you exist, let people know that you're building something. It's not necessarily about building your audience per se, but it's more about with the people who know you. Hopefully there are some people who know you. If not, we're gonna probably talk about that in the networking section. But for those people, you want to let them know what you've been up to, what you've been learning. And once you're basically done, you're never done per se, so, with learning in public. But once you're ready to move on to building in public, then you can move on to basically more advanced topics. You can talk about more, you know, maybe solving a real world problem or using, more advanced tech and stuff like that. And that's what you can use to actually get a job.
And I've actually seen people get jobs from that. I actually have a blog post or a YouTube video on it where I won't mention their name just in case they don't want to be mentioned, although they were happy for me to do a blog post on it in a video. They were creating content on them learning an open source project, and they were creating a YouTube video and blog posts on them learning how to use it and sharing what they learned. And they were a student, and the company said, we love what you're doing. Why don't we pay you to do it more rather than kind of, a couple a month? Why can't you do it, 5, 6 a month and we'll pay you to work for us? And they said, oh, I'm a student. And they said, well, let us know how many you can do a month. You're doing it already. Let us pay you for it. And then there'll be a job waiting for you when you finish studying. And I think it's just such an amazing example of don't tell people how great you are. You can show them. And by great, it's not just about the technical experience, as we mentioned before. It overlaps with the communication and the collaboration as well, which is super important because people want to work with nice people. I don't know I don't know what word I can use of nice, but people who want to move things forward, people who want to collaborate, and who want to learn. Right, as YK mentioned a few minutes ago, we're in so many words. He mentioned that we're always learning. I know I am. Every day I'm looking at people's content, and I'm learning every day, and that's part of the fun of being in tech.
I like the point Eddie made about showing what you're doing. And I think that that's important because building in public proves out your knowledge and your skill set. Like this is what you can do. But I think it's also important again to what YK and Eddie both mentioned is like being like true. Like you obviously want to put out there into the world the things that you can actually do and not have that curated influence of what you're trying to post because if you are in fact trying to get a job and people see what you're posting and believe you can do it, you better believe you better be able to do it.
Okay, I think we're gonna close up this particular method. The idea here is we're gonna spend 10 minutes or so on each topic, and that should allow us to kind of go through everything in time with some time left for sort of open discussions. We can jump into different methods and talk about different topics, maybe take questions. We'll see. But for this particular topic of building in public, I actually pinned a tweet from YK, aka CS Dojo. Jason, you said he might have stuff to say. He indeed does. He said getting a job in tech requires three things: building relevant skills, being able to show that you have those skills, a solid network in the industry you're in. I want to emphasize the third one. And there's one thing you can do that allows you to build all of them at the same time, building in public. And one thing I want to add there is it doesn't matter too much, what platform you choose. Twitter is a good platform. LinkedIn is another one. GitHub, obviously. There are many, many platforms. Twitch, if you want to stream. Just choose one that works for you. Different people resonate with different platforms, and then go with it. If it doesn't go that well, uh, obviously you want to keep going, but I think it's okay to switch different platforms to try different things, especially at the beginning, to see what works for you.
Also, the beauty of doing learning in public or building in public is people kind of say, "Oh, I've got no content ideas. I need to. I can't think of something at the moment." And I get that coming up with content ideas is hard. That's why I don't think we should create content. I think we should document our journey, and then you'll never be short of content ideas, and it will always be more authentic. And then if they do something on a live stream or a video or Twitter, whatever it is, when people reply and comment and ask questions, that will give you more content ideas. This is why I love going through my Twitter notifications, and I make sure I do it kind of every day for like 1 to 2 hours because it gives me so many more content ideas. Because people ask questions, I reply. I might fill it out a bit and make it into a video or a blog post or something else. And same with the questions on live streams. I just feel it's like once you start going, you get this momentum, and then you'll never run out of ideas, and you'll always make new friends and get more ideas.
I loved the comment you made about not making content because I think that that's really, really important. If you're just documenting your journey, you're going to have unlimited content. I think once you start to deviate from what you're doing to try to facilitate content or making sure people are looking, it goes into another conversation. And I think that that can negatively impact you at a certain point.
Right, and that's an interesting point. I guess we can spend more time on this first method because it is an important one. The way I think about building in public is you. Why don't you build something? You probably want to build something anyway. If you're passionate about tech, if you have a lot of interest in this, you know, sort of general industry of tech, you want to build something to learn something, or maybe you want to build something to provide value to your own life. Maybe you want to fix a problem that you have. Whenever you want to complain something, right? I sometimes say complain, fix. You can complain about it, but you can also fix that thing. One thing I hear a lot is, oh, I don't see enough remote jobs that are outside of Europe and the US. Okay, fix it then. Make a website that lists jobs that are truly remote, anywhere in the world. But I don't see any website like that. So everyone complains, no one builds. I guess that's my way of complaining. But at least I'm building, this educational piece of content in public.
That's on my list of things to do, YK. Something I want to do the next, kind of 6 weeks. A job board. I want to tie it into BioDrop that is fully remote, and the roles must be fully open source as well. So it's something we've been asked about a lot from people in the community and from our clients as well. So it's on our list. We will get to it, and you're right. Then other people can contribute to it. And you're right. And there's just so many ways in tech people can make things better. What I love about tech is nothing is kind of in stone. Things are changing. There are new jobs, in job titles appearing all the time. People can make their own roles in the company. I mean, I know it's a whole other discussion, but it's just very flexible in tech, and I think it takes the consistency that you mentioned before, and also the passion that you just mentioned a few minutes ago, and we just keep pushing forward and not giving up. And I think that's where the community really comes in, and everyone really supports each other and motivates each other. We all have our good and bad days. I think it's just great when the community supports each other, like a Twitter space like this, right? I think it's just so motivating to get everyone together on a Saturday and just hear everyone's achievements, successes, and how we can remove some walls and boundaries and just make it flow a lot better.
Totally. And I appreciate you, Eddie, personally, and just having you here, having different perspectives, having someone to talk to, honestly, is really helpful for the flow of the space. So really appreciate you being here. And one thing I should mention before moving on to actually the next topic is, you might say, what if I don't have an idea? So the first thing I would say is you probably do have an idea already. You just don't know it. Again, whenever you complain about something, fix it. That's kind of my philosophy with it. Personally, with the project I've been working on, Kaguya.ai, the way I came up with it is I wanted to give more context to ChatGPT. So I thought there should be a way to do it. I complained kind of internally. I didn't complain about it publicly, but then I fixed it by building a tech around it. And I think Jason might have wanted to complain and say, oh, there's no community I can talk to around here. So he built his own community. So that's the first thing I should say. You probably have an idea, but if you don't have an idea, you can do one of the two things, which we're going to go into later, which are freelancing or open source. I recommend, either of those two things, depending on who you are. But we're going to go into that. And if you're interested in learning more about building in public, feel free to check the pin tweet. We're going to go into some of those details on October 24th on our Discord. But let's move on to the next topic.
YK, if I can be cheeky and just jump in real quick and just say, you were saying if you want to, if you build something, if you want to, you can fix something and build it. But if you can't come up with ideas, I was going to say you can join somebody else. Not everyone has to come up with the new idea every time. Maybe someone else is building something that you're passionate and that you like, and you can join in and support either by building it with code or by creating content for it or improving the accessibility. I see Julia giving me a thumbs up, just improving accessibility. I mean, there's just so many improvements that can happen on so many different levels. So sorry, YK, back to you.
Yes, to kind of add on to that. I think a lot of things are like that. Let's say you're passionate about entrepreneurship, building a company or whatever. You might not have the best idea yet. You might not have the best, you might not have enough resources yet. Then joining someone else is totally an option, right? And that's what most people do. That's called employment. Same thing with open source. You might say, I want to start an open source project. If you don't have an idea, just join one. Same thing with freelancing. All of those things. You don't have to stick with just building your own community. Obviously Jason's helping me here, and sometimes I help Jason with his community. So it's okay to kind of jump back and forth between your own stuff and other people's stuff. It's all about collaboration, like Eddie often says. So the next topic is networking with offline events. This is a very specific thing that I mentioned here. Any thoughts here from IW, Jason, Eddie?
I mean, I have little to no experience with the in-person stuff, which is one thing that I'm really trying to push for come 2024, which obviously you and I have both talked about already, getting to some larger conferences and just like meeting a lot of the people that I interact with online. I don't have a lot locally, so I think it is very important, and I wish there were more. But again, there's back to what you're saying. If you see a problem, create the solution. So I have been looking at potentially doing some Western New York meetups.
I think in-person events are great. I mean, it's great to have virtual events. They've got so many benefits, but yeah, the in-person events, it's just another level. And yes, you've got the talks that you can go to, but to be honest, I find the coffee track when you can actually chat to people. An event I went to recently, I won't say the name. The talks I'm sure were great, but I actually just ended up staying in the coffee track, not because I was drinking lots of coffee, but just to chat to a lot of the speakers and attendees during it. And to me, that was just absolutely amazing. People you've been collaborating with online for a while, you can actually meet them and chat to them. It's just another level. There's only so much you can do in tweets or replies or DMs and so forth. So yeah, I highly recommend it. And I think as Danny Thompson always says, if you haven't got a meetup in your area, just start one. I mean, you can do it on Eventbrite for free or Meetup. I would recommend doing that. If I'm out of breath, it's because I'm unpacking boxes. We've just moved apartments, so that's why I'm trying to multitask at the same time.
I also am winded. I'm currently mowing my lawn while we do this. So I'm right there with you, Eddie.
Okay, totally understand. Sometimes I try to multitask too, but don't worry about chiming in if you're busy with unpacking your box, stuff like that. And I know, like, listening to someone else while you read instructions and stuff like that might be a challenge, but it's good that you try it, Eddie. And we have Sean here, and I wanted to bring Sean up here because I know you went to render. But actually, I do have a question for Eddie first. Have you been to GitHub Universe?
I haven't been to it yet, no. So I was thinking of going this year, but unfortunately, with moving countries and stuff, it made it a bit more tricky. But I look forward to hearing how it goes, and I hope to attend a future year. Um, just on that note, though, for people who also said there aren't, maybe there aren't events in their local area, they could apply to give a talk at the events, and they usually pay for your travel and your accommodation and so forth. So I know that can be scary. You can always do a joint talk with someone as well. So that's something that you can do, and it's always something I'm keen to support people on. I'm sure other people as well. So there are options. Just ask the question, chat to people, and see what ideas they come up with.
Thank you for that, Eddie. Hopefully you'll join GitHub Universe next year. Hopefully I will too. I'm going there this year. I'm going to Next.js Conf and the OpenAI developer conference too. And I was kind of thinking, I have my goal or ambition, dream, whatever you want to call it. I want to speak at GitHub Universe. Not this year, obviously. I'm not booked as a speaker there. I'm just attending there. But one day, I want to speak there, and I want Eddie to speak there too. Obviously, they'll probably be happy to have you there. If we can both be speakers at the same time on the same year, maybe next year, or in I'm not greedy, any year, in the future, that'd be super cool. So if anyone here knows someone at GitHub, if they could hook us up, that would be super cool. So again, this is I guess me building in public my sort of speaker and journey as a speaker, and collaborating too. I don't want to be selfish. I want to try to help out Eddie. If I can, like if he needs help, he might not need my help, but still, it's all about collaboration, right? But back to the topic, Sean. How was render? How did you approach it? And what was your experience like there?
I love it. Thank you for having me, YK. So y'all brought me up for the building offline one, and that's like my weakest one, y'all. I am a big introvert. I hate talking to people in real life, and the way I got to render is one of my friends invited me. Like I always tell people, the way I go on offline is I have friends. I bring one friend around so that I don't feel awkward. It makes the whole event feel so much better. Even if I don't talk to another soul, I have a friend sitting right next to me. So my tip for offline events: make a friend, one friend, just one, so that you can have somebody to talk to. Even if you decide not to talk to other people, I would prefer if you talk to other people too. But God forbid you go there and not talk to anybody but your friend. Um, but do eventually make friends, because I didn't. My friend's a big extrovert. She'll go out and talk to random strangers, and I like that energy. I don't do that, but she'll bring strangers around, and I'll just go and talk to my friends. There was lots of people that I already knew at Render, so I had lots of friends to talk to, and then those friends brought more friends. So make friends, one friend at least, and usually sometimes they bring their own friends. So that's my hot tip for offline uh, networking. It would be great if you could just go out and talk to strangers. I haven't gotten that super skill yet. Um, Working on it. Maybe this is it, but trying to bring it on to offline is definitely a big hurdle.
Cool. It does take a lot of practice. I'm sure Jason has a lot to say, but I should mention we did a whole space on this. It's called, networking pro tips, something like that. It's recorded. If you look through the timeline of this account, Spaces Dojo, you should be able to find it. We've covered a lot on that space, but one thing I want to mention from that particular space is this pro tip of staying put. And you as a newbie, it's tempting to walk around, try to find people to talk to, and that's totally fine as a newbie. But as I would say, like these offline events pro, you don't have to move around that much. You sit in a you find a place to sit in a comfortable place, and then you wait for people to come to you, or you stand there and you kind of wait for people to come to you. That actually makes it less awkward. As long as you're comfortable with this idea of sitting by yourself, and as long as you're comfortable in your own skin. uh, Obviously don't be creepy, don't like stare at people and stuff like that, but as long as you have like the base social skills to be able to do that, I recommend that you try. And I see Graham in the audience. I feel like this, these actually the next topic is a good fit for you, so I just wanted to mention that. Jason, go ahead.
I I appreciate that Sean brought up his introvertedness. I've heard him talk about it before, and he's sort of a testament to, even though he understands he has certain, I don't want to say limitations, but things he has a harder time with, he still goes out and does it. He found a way to do it, like, positively, and as he's growing again, he's learning in public. He's building that piece of his toolkit in public. So I know a lot of people do have those apprehensions with the in-person stuff, especially after all the pandemic stuff and getting back out there. But it's so important. And again, if there's tools like Sean said, make a friend, bring a friend, have somebody there that you can just sort of kind of jive with, and keep moving forward. I thought that was great advice.
Cool. And I brought a couple of people here, who may be able to talk about either the current topic, the next topic, or one of the upcoming topics. So Swap Neo does a lot of freelancing, so he can probably talk about that if and when we get to it. We definitely have to, get to it because that's sort of the promise of the title of the space. Graham should be able to talk about networking, offline and online, and pretty much every topic that we're going to cover. Neta should be able to talk about networking, and I think that general area is what Neta is sort of passionate about. So, welcome to you, everyone. You know the rules. If you have stuff to say, you can go. We're covering offline events, but I think we can start moving on to online events too. Graham, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, YK. So, first things first. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, all of you beautiful people and fellow monsters. I don't feel right unless I start a space with that. I'm going to disagree with you, YK, but not entirely. I think that is one good tactic for if you are not comfortable at doing the outreach and you'd prefer to, and you're all right with your own company. I would say you also need the other side of the coin, which is the side I prefer to be, which is be the one to go up to people and say hello. It's awkward, it's weird, it's very uncomfortable. Doesn't matter how many times you've done it, you're walking up to a stranger. But at the end of the day, a stranger is just a friend you haven't made yet. And at the end of the day, when you're at a networking event, people are there to connect with people. So I would advise that you be that person. Be the one who goes way outside your comfort zone, walks up to somebody random, if appropriate in your culture, because it's been pointed out before that in certain countries this is a bad idea, but in most Western countries, walk up to somebody, stick your hand out, big smile, say hello, and tell them your name, and just start chatting. And the beauty is, when you're at a conference and stuff, you've got presentations that people may have just been to that you can ask them about, or you can ask them if they're excited about the event. It's really easy to start the conversation going. So that would be my advice at networking events. I've made so many good contacts and friends through being the weirdo who walks up to somebody, sticks my hand out and says, "Hey, I'm Graham. Nice to meet you."
So I love how you bring up different perspectives as usual. I know you like to disagree with me. That's totally fine. We have different ways to approach this. And obviously, I don't say never walk around. I mean, if you don't walk, you're not. If other people are moving to a different location, you're gonna be stuck there. That's not what I mean. Obviously, use a combination of different approaches, but if other people are walking around, sometimes you don't have to. Sometimes Graham will walk up to you and you say, "Oh, great! I didn't have to walk to you." Um, but let's see, Graham, go ahead.
Yeah, look, like I said, I didn't disagree entirely. I didn't frame that well then. I'm saying that you need both types of people. You need the people who sit there so that people can come and approach. Because you know what? If I saw YK sat on his own, and I didn't know YK, obviously, I would probably go and sit with him and say hello. So you need both types of people. So I'm not saying it's not a valid tactic. I'm just saying we do need both types. And it's good being the one who does the reach out. People appreciate it. People who've been sat on their own, some people are very, very shy and don't want to approach other people. And it's so appreciated when someone comes and says hello because everybody's there to chat and mingle. I'm going to give you a pro tip here. If you're at a larger event, one that's got multiple stages and things like that, get there early and explore. Go and find where all the stages are. Work out the lay of the land, where everything is. You'll be amazed how many times you can spot someone who is evidently lost, can't find where they're trying to get to, and do you know how many people really appreciate when you go, "Oh yeah, it's just up there. That's where the stage is." People love that, and then it's a great way you normally bump into them later because these events, even when they're large, you see people, and they're like, "Thank you so much," and it's another way to start a conversation. And it takes you half an hour to get to know the layout of a venue. Definitely worth doing. 100%. There's a pro tip for you that everybody can do.
I agree with Graham, and you 1,000% need both types of people. I think that that's just how society and communication work. It's like that whole yin yang dynamic. Both people bring positives to a scenario. So good point, Graham.
Oh, we've got a standoff between two very polite people.
I know.
They're both too
Netta had her
polite.
hand up. Netta had her hand up. Ladies first. Hi, Netta. Welcome to the stage.
Hi, everybody. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, YK. I'm actually taking notes as everyone speaks. I just wanted to provide a different perspective about what Graham said about showing up early. I just wanted to add to what he said. I totally agree, especially for introverts who are shy about being around too many people in the beginning. That's a great way to get out of your comfort zone, but surely but slowly. Also, what I've noticed is the people that are the quietest, hats off to you introverts, or shy, are the ones that are the most surprising. They have so much wealth of knowledge, and you never know who you could start an interesting conversation. So I would encourage everyone, if you see someone that is shy or quiet, approach them, get them out of their shell, and say hi. Thank you.
I love that, and that's perfect timing because my tip kind of builds on from that as well. Well, it builds on, but it's close to it. Yeah, if you see someone, definitely, who's shy, go say hi. But also, if you're standing with a group of friends or people you've met who are now your friends, then always stand in the kind of the pack person shape, or back in the 80s, the Pac-Man shape. Leave a gap. I think it's really important to leave a gap so other people can join. And when they join, make the circle bigger so there's still a gap for other people to join. Even someone like me, who's an extrovert now, I suppose. I used to be an introvert, but if there's no gap, it's hard to join the conversation. And do suggest it as well. If some people don't realize, like someone's joined, they're chatting, they're having fun, they don't realize that the circle's closed. So if just say, all you need to say is Pac-Man, and then as you go, oh my god, oh sorry, and then you kind of make the circle bigger and more people join, and you might break off into smaller groups again later on, and so forth. But it's just so much easier for someone else to join if there's a gap. And I just think that's really really important. So keep that in mind, and if it doesn't happen, then just suggest it, or if it was happening but now no longer there, suggest it again.
Go ahead, Sean.
I just wanted to add on to the coming early. As always, staying late. I've gotten invited to so many parties, VIP rooms, specifically at Render, like the speakers lounge, just by being around after. The speakers went and hanged out, and I was invited. I didn't even ask. I was just standing there, and I was invited to the VIP. Oh my God, it was amazing. So I just had to give that pro tip. Not only coming early, but staying late. There's lots of things that are happening that you would just magically get invited to if you stay late. I don't even know whose hands, so I'm just gonna drop the mic.
Yes.
Go ahead, YK. You're the boss here. Go for it.
Yes, I'll abuse my hosting privilege here and ask you, John, how did that happen? I mean, you say you were just there, but you must have talked to them. Did they recognize you from Twitter?
So, they actually recognized my extrovert friend who talks to everyone. I was talking to a friend, but my extrovert friend who greets everyone and knows a lot of people and will greet anybody who walks by, greeted. I think y'all know her, but anyway, um, just greeted somebody, and then they were like, "Yeah, follow us. We're going upstairs. I don't know where it was." And then we ended up. Yeah, Tracy Lee. That was the one. She just wanted to bring it up. But yeah, just randomly introduced into somebody. I didn't know her, but boom, now we're in the VIP, talking in a room with lots of people that a lot of y'all know, and it was absolutely extraordinary. I can't even explain to you. I didn't even know the room existed. Wasn't planning on going to the room, and then boom, my extrovert friend talks to one stranger, and then boom, we're in the VIP. So staying late, sometimes you get invited to the extra special party.
No, that's super cool to hear. I love the story. Love the way you say boom too. How did you meet that friend?
She came up through the okay. So at Render, Tracy. Oh, how did I meet my friend? Oh, I went to high school with this friend. Yeah, and she's here. Um, so I've known this person in real life. Happened to be sitting next to this person in high school. Like I said, I'm not in person. I will talk to the person sitting right next to me, but I am not going to command the stage and command the audience. But I can talk to one person sitting next to me and make one friend, and then hope that friend makes more friends. Because I don't plan on talking to everyone, but I can pick one person and make one friend.
Yeah, I love everything about this story. One thing I've said before, I think, is when you treat, each connection that you make, each person that you meet, uh, in a like positive way, respectful way as much as possible. Sometimes it's hard to do, so it's not possible to be like 100% positive all the time. But when you do your best, magical things happen, like Sean just shared.
Sean's story was really awesome. And again, it's that testament to needing extroverts and introverts for all of this to happen. I wanted to bring up something Eddie had said though, because he said that he was introverted, but now he's more extroverted. I have this theory about introverts and extroverts. Like ultimately you don't change, but you can practice or get more comfortable for longer in periods that you normally wouldn't be, because I think you've got a gauge of like social interaction and some people's runs out faster. So I think for Eddie, just because he's been exposed to having to be an extrovert for his position is, for lack of a better term, built a tolerance to it. So he is more comfortable, but it doesn't mean that introverts can't be more extroverted, because it's perfectly possible. And Eddie's a perfect example. Even Sean, I mean, he's doing it. So definitely a good thing. You guys brought up good points.
Thank you so much. But you're right. It's just a skill we need to practice slightly, go outside our comfort zone. I mean, just on that note, and I'll get back to what I was going to say was, I don't know if people would believe that, I don't know, 10 years ago or so, I working with a team of say, I don't know, 2 or 3 people, my colleagues. I could chat to them at my desk and they're at their desk talking about what code we're working on. But as soon as they said, let's go grab a meeting room and we can discuss this further, but it's the same 2 or 3 people that I've been sitting next to talking every day, but now they've made it more official, let's say, even though it's just the same people. I would get really nervous, wouldn't have lunch, go to the bathroom like 100 times. And then only, a few weeks ago, so like 10 years later, after practicing more and more, I gave a talk in Croatia Infobit on a 360 stage that had seating for I think 3,000 people. So it is practice, and it's something that we all can get better at. And I still need to get better at it as well. I know I always ask people for constructive feedback, but yeah, definitely practice. Everyone start small and build it up. What I was going to say was about building on what Sean was saying. And also what we're saying before, like if you're going to an event and you're a bit nervous, and you could tweet it out and say, look, hey, I'm going to this event. Is anyone else going? It'd be great to meet some people at the event. So I would recommend tweeting that. And another thing you can do is at the event, when you're listening to a talk, don't just say, oh, the talk by Eddie was great or something like that and tweet it. Add value to that person's audience, so you stand out more and then they can reshare it. So if you said, oh, Eddie's talk was great or okay or whatever you want to say, and then say, and these are my takeaways, as Nida was just saying that they're making notes, you could say, well, these are my takeaways. Tip one's this, tip two's this, tip three's this. These are my best 3 takeaways or something that resonated with me. Then the person that you tagged, so in this example is me, they're going to not only like it, like before, just saying, oh, great talk, Eddie, I'll like it for sure, might reply and say thank you. But if you add value to my audience, I'm going to retweet it. And as I'm looking through your timeline, so I'm thinking, right, this person made a really good tweet, adds value to my community, so on my timeline, so I'm going to retweet it. If I see a tweet that says, oh, nervous about the event, I'm going to go and say hello to that person. And that actually happened at DevRelCon Japan when I was there. Someone there were 2 tracks. One was in English, one was in Japanese. And someone in the Japanese track said something like, first event, new to it, don't know who to speak to. I used Twitter Translate for it, and I actually replied to them and said, "Oh, let's meet up after. Let's meet up not afterwards, but after the talk. We're both in talks at the time." It was a very short conversation. They didn't speak English, and I didn't speak Japanese, but we we managed to make it work and use Google Translate, and it just you make a new friend. They introduce me to their friends who did speak English. I introduce them to mine, and so forth. And you just kind of it grows from that sense. And I do agree with Sean also that just kind of standing out from the crowd in a valuable way, or someone someone that knows someone, you can get invited to the speakers dinners, or to the unofficial speakers dinners, or whatever it is, and then you meet more people, and the next event you go to, you'll know more people, and so forth. So it just kind of builds on from there. So to take that first step, and then it will get easier and get more fun.
Also, life hack, if you want to give Eddie feedback, make sure you DM him directly your feedback. He loves that. Go ahead, Graham.
Oh, don't pick on Eddie. I'm being nice to Eddie today because Eddie literally just stole the thing that I was about to tell you, but from the other perspective. I am that person that Sean was talking about. I am the person who invites themselves to the speakers' dinner. If you want a good way to network, be bold and go to speakers' dinners. Eddie was doing a talk at something called Middlesbrough Front End. I wasn't a speaker, wasn't even helping out. Did I invite myself to that thing? You're damn right I did. And it was absolutely wonderful. Got to chat with a load of amazing people, Eddie included. And so be that person. The other thing that here's another top networking tip. Why do you always put your hand up when I'm talking? I always feel like I'm being told off. Right, so here's another top networking tip.
No, Grab. I want to ask you a question. How do you invite yourself to this dinner?
So you go to someone who's at the dinner, like Eddie, and you go, "Hey, where are you all hanging out for this speakers dinner, and what time is it?" And then they tell you, and you just turn up. And most of the time, that works beautifully. That also worked, by the way, at I'm just having a mental. Oh, Sevo Navigate. I wasn't a speaker, but I got myself invited to that one as well. Obviously, I knew several people there, so that was a lot easier. But I wasn't invited. I just basically found out where it was and turned up, and lo and behold, nice free drinks, free food. Got to chat with a load of interesting people. So these things happen. The beauty of these events is they're social events. So normally, you can be a little bit cheeky and you can get to go and do amazing things. The other thing I was going to say, and here's another top networking tip. First things first, Jason, I slightly disagree with you on the introvert extrovert thing. The only thing I think that defines an introvert and extrovert is, do your batteries recharge when you're around people, or do your batteries deplete when you're around people? Everything else is shyness, because I'm an extrovert, 100%, but I am very shy, and I don't think people realize this. And it took me a lot of, as Eddie was saying, deliberate practice to get to the point where I'm not shy anymore, because you start realizing that everybody's a little shy and you all feel a little weird. So I just want to say that to everybody in the audience. You can certainly learn to look like you are confident and not shy, even if you're introverted or extroverted. It's easy. You just have to keep going way outside your comfort zone over and over again until you become numb to it. Anyway, the top tip. I've got distracted. The top tip is this. People
wait.
Go on.
Yeah, so I like this idea of showing up at dinner, but that's like a really bold move. I love to do it at GitHub Universe, but at the same time I'm like, can I do that? I mean, that's pretty weird.
So there's a couple of
Like,
caveats here I need to be very, very clear on. Most of the events that are speakers' dinners are normally held at like restaurants or places like that, where they are still going to have some people from the public there. So if they're paying for the whole meal and everything, don't just turn up without knowing somebody who's likely to help you like get the free drinks and everything else. That's a bit rude. But a lot of them are held at like bars, restaurants, things like that, not in private function rooms. So there's nothing wrong with you turning up to these things. And then the other thing is there's nuance in it, where obviously you need to know a couple of people who are part of the event if you're going to go to more of a closed door thing. And you just need to ask the damn question. And they'll always go, yeah, sure, we'll smuggle you in. Don't worry about it. And then you're fine. So, yeah, there is nuance. And obviously, I'd just say try it. Like, what's the worst people are going to say? Hey, you're not invited. Okay, cool. You go to the bar next door and then you try and find out if you can meet up with everyone after. Not an issue. It's fine. So I hope that cleared that up, because you're right. I didn't want everybody just barging into random speakers' dinners without the nuance. But so thank you for that, YK. The top tip. I've been trying to get this top tip out. I'm going to get it out and then I'm going to shut up. Most people at events are on their best, politest behavior. And what that means is they do not want to be the person who makes a choice, because we all want to be like, no, 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 what do you want? What do you want to do? No, what do you want to do? Trust me, be the damn person who makes a decision, because otherwise you're going to have that conversation for 4 hours. Everybody's being nice, everybody's being polite. I literally did the Pied Piper thing. I just gathered a load of developers. I was like, hey, who's hungry? You're hungry? You're hungry? You're hungry? Cool. Right, what do we want? Pub lunch. I tell you what, let's do a pub lunch. We're in London. Take everyone for a pub lunch. That's the way to do it. That's the way to make a load of friends, because then you're basically, taking people out somewhere. You're seen as the person who's done loads. You've done nothing. You've literally Googled a venue and walked there. That's all that you did. But you get loads of people being appreciative of it. So yet again, good way to start a strong friendship with people is to be the one who sits there and goes, hey, let's go here. Let's do this. I've done that on multiple occasions. I did that as well at the We Are Devs. I just said, hey, what's everyone doing tonight? Tell you what, let's go here. And you just keep saying that to everybody, and you'll be amazed how many people turn up, and then it turns into a fun time. So there you go. Another top tip for you. I'll shut up now.
I like that top tip. That shows your leadership, surprisingly, Graham. So for everyone who doesn't know about this, it's a joke. We respect each other, but we don't show that in public. Yeah, I know, Graham. Got it. Graham earlier said, a stranger is a friend you haven't made yet. What I would like to rephrase it is, a stranger is a friend or foe that you haven't made yet.
Yes, we were strangers once, weren't we, YK? And now look what's happened. Jeez, my biggest fan.
I got to get that on a t-shirt. That's amazing. That's got to be trademarked, YK.
Well, maybe it'll be a Propel shirt, or I don't know. It'll be a CS Dojo shirt. We'll see how it goes.
Mini conference.